Okay, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Again to a community session, and today we will be jumping into Microsoft Agent Framework on Azure, and we had Janarthanan and Selvaraj joining us, who is a Microsoft AI MVP and MCT, and more about himself. He'll be giving a brief before he is going to start the session, and I also want to mention that the session is recorded. You do not need to record it on your end. And secondly, there is a certificate of participation whoever stayed till the end of the session. So make sure you fill out the form that I'll be sharing at the end to be claiming that and filling that out accurately. And if you enjoy or you find this today's session interesting for you, please feel free to join our community where we'll have more sessions and trainings on Azure that will be held on the community for free. So make sure you use of those sessions as well. So that is all from my side as an organizer, and the stage is all for Janardhanan to be getting started. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Surag, for giving me the opportunity. And good morning and good afternoon, everyone. And thanks for joining on some of them maybe in the morning, some of them for maybe in the afternoon. I appreciate everyone efforts in joining this program today. The most trending topic in the recent weeks, which is the Microsoft Agent Framework. So today we'll be discussing about shaping the future of AI agent with the Microsoft Agent Framework on Microsoft Azure platform. We are going to discuss the different types of application. How do you build an application inside the Microsoft Agent Framework? So before we start, let me introduce myself. So I am Janarthanan Selvaraj. I'm a Microsoft AI MVP, as well as I'm a Microsoft community lead for the India region, as well as a Microsoft certified trainer. And I used to contribute for articles, blogs on the C Sharp platform, as well as I'm mentoring people, both the students as well as professionals, for the hackathon challenges or anything which are related to the Microsoft certification or even for the applied skill certification or any questions, you can feel free to reach out to my LinkedIn handle as well as YouTube handle. I will be posting the hackathon challenge updates, the certification updates, and different types of article blog updates. I'll be contributing on my YouTube handle. So you can reach out either on my LinkedIn platform or any one of the social media platform where I'll be available. Also, for students or working professional, any questions related to generative AI as well as agentic AI, feel free to reach out to me on my LinkedIn handle. So let's get started. So today we'll be discussing about the why there is a new foundational framework. Already, with respect to the Microsoft, there are two already existing framework, namely Autogen is one of the framework. The other framework, we call it as Semantic Kernel. Why there is a new framework which has been recently introduced for the Microsoft Agent framework that we are going to discuss. And the Microsoft Agent framework architecture we'll be discussing, followed by the four important pillars of Microsoft Agent framework. And then we'll discuss about the hands-on which are related to how do you build an agent on Microsoft Agent framework using the Python SDK, followed by one more hands-on. How do you build agents for MFA using different types of tools and the related functionalities? So this two hands-on we will be discussing as part of a discussion today. The very first one with respect to this Microsoft Agent framework, if Autogen framework as well as Semantic Kernel framework, which exist already, why do we read this new framework? So before we dive into this Microsoft Agent framework, you might be knowing the usage, why agents are more popular when it comes to the assistance as concerned. The AI agents, if you notice, they are not just a chatbot or they are not just a co-pilot. They can be even an autonomous software component, or your agent may act as a smart microservices. And agent, you can build your own automation workflows, orchestration workflows. It is possible with the help of your agent. An agent is all about the components of agent is about the model. The second one we call it as a memory, and the third one which is about a tool. Why these three important components which are used to constitute an agent? Because agent has to leverage the existing generative AI model. Any one of the generative AI model agent has to use, we require a model to deploy any type of interaction or any communication where agent wants to communicate to the model and the rest of the tools. You need the generative AI model. The second one is agent is going to store the conversations, the interactions between the human being as well as the agent, where it will be persisted in terms of a memory. So you require a memory as well. The third important component with respect to this agent, which is about the tool. The tool can be a knowledge tool or tool can be an action tool. So when it comes to the knowledge tool, you can upload any type of local file, SharePoint file, or even it could be a Azure AI search or a Bing AI search. Any type of search related documents will be in the form of a knowledge base you can use as a knowledge tool. Sometimes in some of the scenarios, you may not need the knowledge tools. You may need the tool which we call it as an action tools. So when we will be using the action tools, if you want to write any particular coding, it could be a code interpreter, or even it could be your Azure functions, or serverless computing, or even your OpenAI specific tool, or it could be a custom function. Any type of code related functionalities you want to implement it in order to customize your overall agent, we will be using the action tools. So these three are the major components when it comes to the agent as concerned. Now let's discuss why this agent needs a new foundational framework. As I mentioned earlier, the very first one is agent can reason about different types of goals because agent is going to communicate and agent wants to achieve a particular task or a goal independently. Because this agent, we call it as a smart microservices, it needs this type of approach to perform. So all types of open standard as well as interoperability is possible when it comes to the Microsoft agent framework as concerned because agents are able to ensure that you can connect model context to protocol or even you can connect agent to agent to protocol using this Microsoft agent framework. So all types of protocol where agent can communicate as well as agent can interact with the model is possible if you start implementing the Microsoft agent framework. The second reason why we need this agent framework, so any type of pipeline you want to build, starting from experimentation till your production ready application, you want to build it, you can use the Microsoft agent framework. Because the Autogen framework, if you are using it, the applications which are available in the Autogen framework is only for the experimentation purpose. You cannot make any production ready application. or any type of brainstorming you want to perform it, you can do it in your Autogen framework. An Autogen framework, user can use either the C# .NET as an SDK or as a Python as an SDK. But when it comes to your semantic kernel is able to orchestrate multi-agent from production ready application. It is possible to build because the semantic kernel framework user can use multiple SDKs, not only Python. You can use Python, Java, C#, .NET. So both the frameworks you will be able to implement as a one unified framework, which we call it as pipeline for your research to production is possible if you are using Microsoft Agent Framework. That is the second reason why you need this Microsoft Agent Framework. Then the third reason with respect to this Microsoft Agent Framework is community-driven extendability. The usage of community-driven extendability with respect to this Microsoft Agent Framework, if you have noticed, all types of connectors. The connector can be A to A, the connector can be MCP, it can be Confluence, or it can be your Pinecone, vector databases, LangChain, LangGraph, Langsmith, all types of open source related framework as well as your Microsoft related libraries. It is possible to extend inside the community driven extendability. So no doubt about it, any type of agent you can create it. It could be a declarative agent, or it could be a custom agent, or even it could be a Microsoft 365 agent. All types of agents your Microsoft agent framework supports. And the third usage, why you require this framework is enterprise readiness. So when I talk about enterprise readiness, there are certain aspects you have to remember. What are the certain aspects in the sense? One is you require traceability. Suppose agent executed, sometimes your agent may fail for certain conditions. You want to trace back those failures as well as fallbacks. You require one of the observability framework. So built-in observability framework as well as security features and also the long-running durability. So whenever an agent has been there, how long the agent is going to be run in terms of different types of framework. So due to these three aspects, your agent framework is going to be used for all enterprise related applications. So these are the four reasons why we are coming to a new framework with respect to this Microsoft. So in addition to these scenarios, there may be a other extension or there may be another convergence of these two framework. What are the convergence of these two framework? One is your semantic kernel framework, and the second one we call it as Autogen framework. Using this semantic kernel as well as Autogen framework, we can build a new unified framework, which is the Microsoft Agent framework. This Microsoft Agent frameworks combines the functionality of both your experimentation Autogen as well as your production ready application semantic kernel into a new platform or in one unified framework, which is known as Microsoft Agent Framework. This Microsoft Agent Framework, it is addressing the gap between the Autogen as well as your semantic kernel. Because there is no longer experimentation for Autogen. Rather, what I can mention it is the semantic kernel production ready application, your orchestrations, as well as your workflow automation, all these can be achieved using one umbrella, which is known as semantic kernel, is now derived as a part of Microsoft Agent Framework. So workflow automation becomes very easy as well as orchestration becomes easy when you're using the Microsoft Agent Framework. So till now, the Microsoft Agent Framework, it is in the preview mode. It is not general available. In another few weeks time or else few months time, this will become a general available so that all the developers, they can leverage the existing functionality of both two innovation framework into one unified framework. And I said two innovation framework, your Autogen as well as your semantic kernel into one unified framework, which is your Microsoft Agent framework. So let's move on to the next usage about the architecture. So before we move on to the architecture stuff, you might be heard about there are open standard protocols available where we can communicate with your agent and in terms of multiple orchestration workflows. So those type of protocols also possible to extend inside the agent framework. It could be your MCP protocol, or even it could be your agent to agent protocol. Both MCP agent to A protocol is possible to extend the existing functionality of agent framework. So this is the architecture picture. If you notice the architecture picture of this Microsoft Agent Framework, the Microsoft Agent Framework has a capacity to connect your M365 SDK, as well as it has different types of external connectors. So when I talk about the external connectors, what are the external connectors we are having is your Azure bot services, your Outlook, Slack communication, Teams communication, Microsoft Copilot, and including your Messenger tool. All these type of connectors are possible to use inside the Microsoft Agent framework. In terms of this Microsoft 365 Agent SDK, so how this Microsoft 365 Agent SDK can interact inside your Microsoft Agent framework is this Microsoft 365 Agent SDK, you can add as an extension in the VS Code. So through as a part of an extension in the VS Code, you can bring the overall connectivity in across multiple platforms like your Teams platform, your Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, your different types of connectors. You can integrate through this Visual Studio Code extension as part of the toolkit as concerned. So there is a toolkit extension is present inside the VS Code editor. You can add the toolkit extension editor for your Microsoft 365 agent. I hope you guys are able to hear me. Yes.
I can hear you, but
Oh, is my
some
screen visible?
people's. Yes, it's
Okay.
the presentation.
What was the point I was mentioned is in terms of this Microsoft agent framework, you can connect both the agent communication. The agent can be from the Copilot Studio, as well as user can create an agent from the Microsoft Azure AI Foundry. So both type of agents can interact into a single unified framework, which is known as the Microsoft Agent Framework. Under this Microsoft Agent Framework, there are several data source connectors we can connect. So what are the several data source connects are? One is the Azure Cosmos DB user can connect. Also MongoDB connector, Pinecone DB connector, your Anthropic Cloud, your AWS Bedrock, and even your Gemini. All types of data source connector user can connect with the help of your Microsoft Agent Framework extensions. So those are not able to hear me for last 1 minute. Again, I'll repeat my points with respect to this architecture. The Microsoft Agent Framework has different types of connectors.
One of the famous connector, it is M365 SDK connector. How this M365 SDK connector user can connect is through Visual Studio Code. One of the toolkit extension user can connect this M365 agent SDK. And this M365 agent SDK, which in turn has a functionality to connect your bot services, Slack, email communication, your Teams, Microsoft Copilot, M365 Copilot, and Messenger. These are the connectors agent can connect inside this Microsoft Agent Framework. On the top of this, the additional functionality of your Copilot Agent Studio, your Azure AI Foundry agent. So this two agents also can interact inside the Microsoft Agent Framework. Finally, the data sources like your Cosmos DB, Pinecone DB, Elasticsearch, MongoDB, and your Gemini, your Anthropic Cloud, AWS Bedrock, those type of external connectors, it is possible to interact inside the Microsoft Agent Framework. So now onwards, the entire future of agents relies on the new foundational framework, which is the Microsoft Agent Framework architecture. So there are four important pillars of your Microsoft Agent Framework. What are the four important pillars if you have noticed? One is open standards and interoperability. The second one is your pipeline for research and production. And the third important pillar of this Microsoft Agent Framework is extendability by design, and it is community driven connectors. And the last one is the tools which are related for production ready application. So these four are the actual pillars when it comes to your Microsoft agent framework as concerned. The very first framework we call it as uh, open standard and interoperability. The meaning of open standard and interoperability, if you have noticed, what is the usage is user can connect multiple agent communication protocol. So what are the multiple agent communication protocol if you have noticed? One is MCP, second one is your A2A, and your agent communication protocol, your model context protocol, agent to agent protocol. All these open standard protocol you can interact inside which framework is your Microsoft agent framework. And the second one is pipeline for research. The usage of pipeline for research the usage of pipeline for research, if you have noticed, as we know, the Autogen framework is only used for the ideation purpose, or you can call it as an experimentation stage. We cannot build any production ready applications. If I want to build any production ready applications, you have to use the framework which is known as the semantic kernel framework. Using the semantic kernel framework, user can achieve how to make the production ready application. If I want to make any production ready application, I have to use the semantic kernel framework. So semantic kernel framework, which is ideally used for all types of production ready application, including your workflow orchestration. Any type of workflow orchestration, or even for your automation stuff, you can use semantic kernel. So both the semantic kernel as well as this Autogen framework, we are able to use in terms of governance policies. Your without affecting the performance, you can still migrating the entire code base into the Microsoft Agent framework, including all types of orchestration. So when I say different types of orchestration, it could be a sequential orchestration, concurrent orchestration, group chat orchestration, or even your hand-off orchestration. All orchestration patterns and the respective scenarios which are cloud agnostic. the meaning of cloud agnostic inside this agent framework, we call it as you can deploy these agents in containers, in on-premises, or across multiple clouds, making them in a portable environment. If you do this type of approach, we call a pipeline for research as well as for the production-based environment. So there is no glitch in terms of production-based environment if you have started using the Microsoft Agent Framework. The third important functionality, if you notice, the Microsoft Agent Framework is extendability by design, and it is a community-driven connectors. The usage of extendability by design meaning is user can interact through multiple types of providers. The provider can be your Foundry, or it could be a Copilot Studio, or even it could be a Microsoft Graph, SharePoint, Bedrock, MongoDB. All type of SaaS-based system is possible to integrate into this particular agent framework without disturbing the entire architecture. We just plug and play these connectors inside the M365 SDK agent. And the last one is which is for the ready for production. When I say ready for production, Microsoft Agent Framework is not just for experimentation. It is used for the enterprise grade application deployment from the day one, whenever the developers started utilizing it. All tracing activities, observability framework, your secure cloud hosting, your long running durability, human in the loop. So these are the different types of activities which are included inside the Microsoft Agent Framework pillars. So now, so far we have discussed the architecture of Microsoft Agent Framework. We discussed, and we just discussed about why did we need this Microsoft Agent Framework, followed by we mentioned the usage of four pillars in terms of Microsoft Agent Framework. Let's discuss how to build a Microsoft Agent Framework using Python SDK. So in order to build a new application inside the Microsoft Agent Framework using Python, you need certain prerequisites. So what are the prerequisites we require? The one of the important official SDKs which has been introduced for this Microsoft Agent Framework is two SDKs. One is Microsoft .NET. The second SDKs we call it as Python SDKs. So these two are the official SDKs which has been used for the Microsoft Agent Framework. And let's discuss the prerequisite if you want to use in terms of Python SDK. What are the prerequisites? I hope my prerequisite slide is visible. Can anyone provide confirmation on the chat? Yes? Is my prerequisite slides are visible? I hope it is. So what are the prerequisites for the Python SDKs when it comes to the Microsoft Agent Framework? So you need one Python 3.10 version SDK, or even it could be more also. And on the top of this, you have to deploy one GPT model or any one of the model deployment inside the Azure AI Foundry. So that is the second prerequisite you require. The third prerequisite for authentication purpose, because we are going to build enterprise ready agents. For enterprise ready agents, you require authentication purpose, Microsoft Azure CLI. So Microsoft Azure CLI is used for the credentials as well as for the authentication authorization mechanism. We need to use Azure CLI. So those who are using .NET SDK, so the change for .NET SDK prerequisites are your SDK, your .NET 8.0 SDK, or even it could be a more also. And you need to deploy one deployment model in the Microsoft Azure AI Foundry, deploy that. And same for authentication authorization purpose, you need the Microsoft Azure CLI environment for the credentials. So these are the prerequisite both for Python SDK as well as your C#.NET SDK. Sometimes customer may require the SDK in Python. Some customers may like C#.NET. So you should know about the prerequisite before you start implementing an application inside the agent framework. So packages. So what are the packages you need to install when it comes to this Microsoft Agent Framework? For C#.NET, you have to add the package Microsoft Agents AI. So using this command Microsoft Agents AI, so this is the package which is there in the pre-release mode. So you have to add pre so that this packages will be added to the .NET Core SDK 8.0. And if you are a Python developer, under the pip install, you have to write agent framework pre. So user can do either two pip install commands or user can do it through your UV package manager. So it's up to the developer's wish. It can be use your UV manager package installer or user can develop the applications related to pip command. So let me deploy an application with respect to this agent framework. So what is the application I'm going to deploy right now? The application I'm going to deploy with respect to this Microsoft Agent Framework is Python related application I'm going to deploy. So before Python application, I want to show you the example. I have deployed one model under Microsoft Azure Foundry. So under Microsoft Azure AI Foundry, I have deployed a model of GPT. So this is the Microsoft Azure AI Foundry. As I mentioned earlier, there are all the Microsoft related model and other vendor specific model which has been listed under the model catalog. So under the model catalog section, you can see there are models around GPT, there are models around Olama, Llama Index, Grok model, all types of model, including your speech model, your GPT model, Codex model, you can see in this model catalog section. So you need to create one resource inside the Microsoft Azure AI Foundry. So under the Microsoft Azure AI Foundry, you have to create the resource. After the resource has been created, what is the next step you need to do is go to this models and endpoint. So under this models and endpoint, if you click this, so I'm going to click a models and endpoint. So you need to deploy a model. So when you want to deploy a model, whether you want to deploy a base model or you want to deploy a fine-tuned model. So it's based upon the customer specification. If the customer asks you to deploy a base model, you can deploy a base model. Or else, if the customer wants to deploy a fine-tuned model, you can deploy a fine-tuned model. That's completely the customer specification. So as of now, I have deployed models like a base model I have deployed, and I have deployed some models which are related to embedding also. So one of the base model is GPT 4.1, GPT 4.0, GPT 4.0 mini, and the embedding model I have deployed here it is text embedding 3 model small. So it's just a simple one. You just click the base model, deploy base model. When you click this, the list of models will be listed under this model catalog section. You can click this option and you can click the button deployment. So once the model has been deployed, you have to take two important parameters. So what are the two important parameters you have to take when it comes to the model deployment is, one is the API key, the second one is nothing but the endpoint. This endpoint and API key, these two parameters only, we will be providing as an input to the Microsoft Agent Framework. Once it is completed, now I have deployed the model GPT-4o. So let us execute the code now. Let me show my VS Code environment. So what are the prerequisite setup you have to perform when it comes to the Microsoft Agent Framework? So this is the VS Code environment. So under the VS Code environment, I have already done this code execution. So before I'm executing any particular code, you need to do certain prerequisite. So what are the prerequisite you have to perform if you want to execute an application inside the Microsoft Agent Framework? The very first setting you have to do when it comes to your Microsoft Agent Framework for Python SDK deployment is I'm using UV package manager for all types of Python related extension. Sometimes, if it is the office corporate network, you may be having a problem of downloading all the extensions. How do you bypass those extensions? Use this command to bypass this extension. So what is the command I'm using in order to download the UV manager is PowerShell execution policy bypass, and use this URL to bypass the extensions so that you can directly install UV Manager packages inside here. So UV Manager packages we started installing now. Now it is downloading the UV Manager. Once the UV Manager has been downloaded, what is the next step I'm going to do is, you need to set the environmental variable. So let me set the environmental variable to my current path. Okay. So using this dollar environmental variable path, I'm setting to the current environmental variable and just set the path. The third installation step you have to perform is you have to create a virtual environment. So virtual environment you have to create for this type of Microsoft Agent Framework execution. So how do you create a virtual environment? Use the command uv add uvenv virtual environment creation. This is a command to create a virtual environmental variable. Just create this. So I'm creating one virtual environmental variable. If you notice this, there is the virtual environmental variable which is already created. So I'm going to say this time already it is created, I will provide no. Because virtual environmental variable I have already created. So after you created a virtual environmental variable, you need to execute that, activate that environmental variable. How do you activate the environmental variable is .venv script activate. Using this command .env script activate, you need to activate your environmental variable. Activate this. Now I have activated this. Once I have activated it, as I mentioned in the Microsoft Agent Framework, you have to install the packages of Agent Framework. So what are the packages we have to install is, one of the package known as UV add agent framework hyphen preview. UV add agent framework hyphen preview is to add the agent framework inside the Python SDK. Add this. So this is going to download all the libraries which are related to your agent framework of Microsoft. So by the package is installed. The next package what I'm going to install is, I'll be installing the Azure AI inference packages. So because I have used the Microsoft Azure AI Foundry model, I need to use this package. So use this. And the third one is, I need to use certain variables like a field variable for that PYD in TK. So this package I have to install. So packages I successfully installed it. So let me explain the code. What is the code we are going to develop now? So the first application we are going to develop for this one is, I'll be developing a travel related agent. For travel related agents, what are the lines of code we need to add it? One is I will be adding the Microsoft Azure OpenAI chat client, the credential of Azure CLI, and followed by the OS package and asynchronous package. So these three packages I will be adding it. After you added this, the key, OpenAI key and endpoint and your chat deployment. These three parameters I have taken from the Microsoft Azure AI Foundry. So take these three parameters and inside the class name, what is the class name I'm using here is Azure OpenAI Chat Client. You need to pass the endpoint, you need to pass the API key and the deployment name. So three values you have to pass for the chat client. After you pass three values for the chat client, if I want to create an agent inside the Microsoft agent framework, dot create agent, so pass two parameter. One is the instructions. Instructions are nothing but the system messages. System messages, you have to write it. So I'm writing a system message saying that you are an helpful travel assistant. So this is the instruction I have given. What is the agent I have created here is travel agent I have created. So in order to execute this agent from a Microsoft agent framework, you will be pointing to a method known as await. Await is a keyword which means this code has to wait for 1 minute time. After the code has been wait, using the run method, you can pass your prompt. So what is the prompt I have given is, give me a list of breakfast food, which includes eggs and cheese. So let me say, what I will give this one is, give me a list of breakfast food which contains cheese and eggs. So this is the actual prompt I have given in the run method. Once it is done, using the text attribute, you just execute the entire responses. And in the main function, I'm calling the run method. Okay. So let us execute this agent inside the Microsoft Agent Framework. Go to the Agent Framework. You paste this entire code. Save this. Let me execute. Python, the name of the file is main.py. So that's it. We have successfully created a agent inside the Microsoft Agent Framework. So this Microsoft Agent Framework, this run method is going to call the agent as a travel agent. So in the background, the travel agent will be executed as a thread, and the corresponding GPT-4o model, GPT-4o model, it is provided the list of breakfast food that contains your cheese and eggs. So did you notice this? So cheese and eggs, you got the list of result, right? I hope it is clear. The first application deployment. The next one we will use inside this Microsoft agent framework is how to add tools and functions inside this agent framework. So in order to add tools and agent inside the Microsoft agent framework, so let me explain that. So this is one of the code where we are defining our own function as well as we have done through one of the tool implementation. So in this case, the same code, what are the new changes I have done is I defined one function known as getWeather. So under the getWeather, I just created a list variable. So in the list variable, I just mentioned sunny, cloudy, rainy, and storm. So these are the condition I just mentioned. And one more user-defined function I've given is get menu special. So in the get menu special, these are the items I just printed it. So now here I'm writing the name of the agent followed by instruction as well as I'm going to call different types of tools. This is not going to call a single functionality. This is going to call multiple functionality. So what are the multiple functionality it is going to call? One, it is going to call get weather function. The second one, it is going to call get menu special. So this is not a single agent. So in this case, we just use multi-agent. Okay. So multi-agent scenario we used, and we are invoking multiple tools. One one option is it is going to call the weather functionality. The other one is going to give you the list of menu items which are available from the existing function. So in the main function, you are calling the prompt is what is the weather in Amsterdam and what are the today's special. So both the weather functionality as well as the second one we call it as the today's menu functionality. So this two functionality it is going to be executed. So what I will do now, I will take the complete code. So this is nothing but implementing tools inside the Microsoft Agent Framework. Execute the code. When you execute the code, Python, the name of the Python. So I didn't save this. Let me save it again. Okay. This is executing a previous result one. Okay. Hmm. So we got the result as the weather in Amsterdam today is stormy with a degree of this 22 degrees Celsius, and today's menu is this one is. So this is nothing but executing the multiple tool functionality in different types of agent in the Microsoft Agent Framework. So we have successfully created multiple agents and single agents and different types of tools inside the Microsoft Agent Framework. Okay. So Surag, over to you for questions. So that's it.
Thank you, Janarthanan, for session. And I will share the certificate form in the chat box to those who wants to get the certificate. And I will also share Janardhan's LinkedIn. Anybody wants to connect and support what he is doing. If you enjoyed today's session, feel free to join our community. I have shared all community links in the chat box. Feel free to check it out and also the certificate. Um, yeah, thank you for joining today with us. I hope you have taken away something, and there are some learning path you can take after this to further go along with the framework, Microsoft Agent framework. And to, if that helps you guys to be, learning further, feel free to look into those learning paths. Yeah, that is all for today. And thank you again for joining. Thank you, Janardhan, for sharing your knowledge with us, and taking the time for all those preparation for the session as well. Yeah, that is all for
There is a
today.
question on the chat. Okay. Tom was asking the migration and deployment. The migration and deployment, still you can do it. There is no problem in that. You can use your semantic kernel framework. No need to immediately migrate to agent framework. It's because still it is in the preview mode. The complete migration guide as well as deployment guide is there in the Microsoft documentation. I will share the Microsoft documentation link for this. Any other questions you can ask me, please. Just a minute, sure. I'll just share the migration guide so that people can use that. I just shared the migration guide for Autogen to agent framework. Similarly, this is a migration guide for semantic kernel. So both the migration guide I have given the instructions on the chat. So feel free to take this. Surag, over to you.
Awesome. If anybody else is having question, now is the time to be asking. Or else you are free to, check out the links that we have shared for the certificate form, and the resource link to further learn about Microsoft Agent Framework. All right. There is no more questions which I can see so far. If in case you guys have a question, feel free to join the community where we can help you with any questions you might be having. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Janarthanan. And
Thank you so
have a
much.
great weekend, guys. Thank you.